Destiny put three men together to jumpstart an industry with one machine. Let's take a look at Atari Pong.
What's up YouTube, Retro Gamer Gen X here, and in today's we're going to be taking a look at Atari's Pong console. And in these look at videos, we take a look at the history of the console, what's inside of it, basically what makes it tick. We'll do a 360 tour of the actual console itself, then we'll go ahead and power it on and do a little bit of gameplay. And at the end, I give my conclusion on my thoughts and opinions of the console itself as well. Now, in between segments, I always put commercials just showing the advertising and the marketing of the system as well. But unfortunately, with the Pong console, I could not find very many old commercials. But the ones I did find, I did pop in here for you guys. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look.
Doreen, I'm sure when you went out last week to play Pong, you got to having so much fun, you just plain forgot to come home. We all miss you, Doreen. But guess what? Atari, inventors of them electronic games put the quarters in, just made Pong for home TVs, scorekeeping and all. Pong, invented by Atari. Now at last you can play at home. Dublin, darling, come on back home.
The story of the Atari Pong console really starts way back in the 1950s, 1958 to be exact, when physicist William Higginbotham designed Tennis for Two, which was a computer game based on tennis. Two players would go back and forth with a ball that would bounce back and forth as well. So this was really the first type of Pong game that was developed, and this was way back in the 1950s. This deserves a video all on its own. But let's fast forward a few years. In 1966, another engineer named Ralph Baer, working for a company called Sanders Associates, it's now BAE Systems, is actually a military contractor, but he came up with the idea to play games on basically a television set. He thought it would be a marketable idea. So it was actually funded through BAE Systems or Sanders and Associates, which is kind of funny because nowadays nothing like that would happen. And about the same time, three different young engineers were hopping onto the scene. One named Nolan Bushnell that recently graduated from the University of Utah College of Engineering. He is one of the few students that got to play around on the DEC mainframe and play with the original Space War video game as well. Also, he had to work his way through college, and he worked at the Lagoon Amusement Park in Utah. And there he saw electromechanical machines, specifically Chicago Coins Racing Speedway game. And it inspired him to want to create his own arcade games. Also at this time, a young engineer named Ted Danby had just gotten out the military and had learned a ton of electrical experience while being in the military. His first job was with Bank of America to work on electromechanical accounting machines there. And then he was hired on by Hewlett Packard. But within a few weeks, he moved on to Ampex. This was in 1961. Nolan Bushnell eventually got hired on with Ampex as well. And in 1971, Ampex hired on another young, brilliant engineer named Alan Alcorn, who recently graduated from the University of California, Berkeley. Bushnell and Danby formed a company called Syzygy and developed a clone system of the video game Space War that they had played on the DEC. The prototype was developed by Danby, and Bushnell basically did the marketing, trying to find somebody that could manufacture it for them. They found Nutting and Associates, which was a maker of coin-op trivia and shooting games, and decided to go with them. They produced a fiberglass cabinet and inserted a coin mech in it, and basically created the game. Although sales exceeded $3 million, it was still a commercial failure. It was at this point that Danby and Bushnell decided to rename the company due to trademark issues, as Syzygy was already taken by another company. So they decided to name the company Atari. The name comes from the ancient Japanese board game named Go, and Atari means to hit a target in Japanese. And it's at this point in 1971 that they hired on Al Alcorn from Ampex as well, and changed the name officially to Atari. Bushnell assigned Alcorn a task to create a new video game, something that Atari would distribute themselves, without a third-party distributor. Bushnell really wanted a racing game to be created, but Alcorn's first project, he wanted to make it easy on him. Bushnell had actually went to a trade show and saw the Magnavox Odyssey that Ralph Baer had developed, and they were still waiting for that patent to go through. This is supposedly where Bushnell came up with the idea of Pong. He put Al Alcorn in charge of developing this new video game. After Alcorn developed the circuitry, he bought a Hitachi black and white television and put it into a cabinet that they just built, basically, and wired it all together. They put the prototype into Andy Capp's Tavern in August of 1972, and within a week and a half, the owner of the tavern had called and said that they were having problems and the game wasn't working. They came down expecting the circuitry or something to be broke, and what the problem was, it was just jam-packed full of quarters, and Atari knew they had a success on their hands. It was at this point that Bushnell wanted to develop the system into a home video game console. This is when Atari hired engineer Harold Lee to work with Al Alcorn. They took Alcorn's design and turned it into an IC form, basically making a Pong on a chip. This minimalized the circuitry and really brought the cost down to the consumer. At the time of its release, the Atari Pong on a chip, or the chip itself, was the highest performing chip used in a consumer product at the time. So now Atari had developed the system, but they needed to find a distributor for it. Atari had seen that the Magnavox Odyssey had an ad in the Sears catalog. So Atari approached Sears' top executive, Tom Quinn, who really wanted the product, but Atari, believing they could get a better deal elsewhere, declined. Atari showed the Pong console off in a January 1975 toy fair, trying to find a distributor for the Pong console, but this turned out to be unsuccessful. So Atari met back up with Sears and Quinn and struck a deal, and by the Christmas season, Atari had to come up with 150,000 units. Although Atari didn't have the capability to produce that many units, Bushnell was able to secure funding through venture capitalist Don Valentine to build a new factory to fulfill the Sears order. The first units were branded Sears Telegames, and the Atari products were made afterward. Now you would think this would be the end of a great story for Atari, or the beginning of a great story for Atari. But at this point, in April of 1974, Magnavox filed a lawsuit against Atari, along with other manufacturers of Pong clone systems. Ralph Baer and Magnavox were saying that Atari had infringed on their trademark, which had finally went through in 1973. In fact, in court, Bushnell did not deny that he had saw the Odyssey, and stated, "The fact is that I absolutely did see the Odyssey game, and I did not think that it was very clever." Atari settled out of court for an approximate payment of $1.5 million made payable in 8 installments, and Magnavox obtained the rights to see full information on Atari products publicly announced over the next year. And if history serves correct, this is why the VCS was pushed back an additional few months before it was released, so Magnavox wouldn't get information on it. Atari went on to sell many more iterations of the Pong console as well, including Pong Doubles, Super Pong, and later consoles like Video Pinball. But the original Pong console that debuted in 1975 sold little over 150,000 units. It was completely discontinued by 1978 and was the Kickstarter for Atari Incorporated. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look inside of the Atari Pong console. And really, guys, there's not much to look at here. We'll go over the couple ICs that are in here and what some of the circuitry does, and really that's about it. I mean, it's not too complicated here. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, the first IC here, is this 3659. This is the Pong on a chip. So this basically does mainly everything. But it does rely on a clock circuit as well, and that's what's pictured above there with the 7404 hex inverter there. And then the crystal clock. Basically, those run in conjunction to make the clock circuit, the oscillation circuit for that 3659 chip to work. In the middle there, that's pretty much the power circuitry, power regulation circuitry there. And further over to the left, where you see that little toggle switch, that's the channel select switch, and that right there is the RF section of the circuit board for the RF circuitry to be able to output to a TV. On both far sides of the motherboard there, you see where the potentiometers would actually solder on. We're seeing the backside. And really, guys, that's about it. There's, like I said, not much to the Pong consoles, and that's why they came to the market. They took a huge arcade board and all the TTL logic that was on that and basically put it all on one chip. And that's why it became so cheap, and it was able to be marketed to the masses at that point. And here's just a simple schematic of the actual Atari Pong console here, if you guys were interested to see kind of how it works. Gotta love the simple electronics.
Oh, sir, we like this Super Pong by Atari.
I'm sold out. That's a demonstrator, but I've got lots of these.
Well, we want Super Pong by Atari.
Yes, but
Super Pong's 4-color games are more fun.
Well, how about this one?
Well, no, you see, we'll have more fun with Super Pong's 4-color games. There's Catch, Solitaire, Super Pong, and Pong. So we'll take this one.
Okay, sure you won't change your mind?
No. Why?
Because I wanted it.
Super Pong. It's not just another video game. It's a real Atari.
All right, guys, so here is the C100 Atari Pong console. So this is player 1 here, just to go up and down, player 2 to go up and down. You have an internal speaker inside of here, so when you plug in your wire, your TV doesn't make any sound. It comes actually from the Pong console itself. Your on and off switch right here, and basically push to start your game, and that's about it, guys. Really not much to the Pong console. Here's kind of the front, the top, the back. Here's where you plug in the AC adapter. Now, do not plug in an Atari 2600 adapter into this thing, because that's 9 volt. This is a 5.5 volt, 100 milliamp adapter that plugs into here. So if you plug 9 volts into this, you're probably going to fry it. So don't do that. Then, of course, you got the sides here. All right, and then the bottom. There we go. That's got a high serial number, so it's not like this is an old one. But this just pops open, and then you got the battery compartment in there, guys. And that's about it. Now, there is a channel select switch in here somewhere, but I believe what you have to do is take this apart to be able to get in there, or this battery tray off to get in there to change the channel select switch. So, and that's about it, guys. I'll go ahead and put that back on, and that is the Pong console. So let me go ahead and get the Super Pong console here. All right, guys, so here's Super Pong here, and as you guys can see, it's pretty much the same thing as the other Pong console. You got your 2 players here, your on and off, your push to start, you got your speaker in the center. But on this one, you have the select game switch here. So you have 4 different games to select from, and I'll show you those in the upcoming gameplay section here. So you guys will be seeing that. There's 4 different games on this one. So nothing else different really. You got the same battery door, takes the same power adapter back here.
So it's really basically the same thing. It has 4 separate games on it besides just the one that the regular Pong console right here has. So, all right, guys. So let's go ahead and power these up. Actually, I'm only going to power this one up because I got batteries in this one. And I'm not just going to flip them out because really Pong, this has got Pong on it. So I'll just show you guys that. So let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. So let's go ahead and power this thing on here. All right, guys. So this is game number 1 on Super Pong. So basically what this game is that you're actually trying to let the ball get past you. So you want the ball to get through the space. So you'll see what I'm talking about here. So you actually want the ball to go through and it scores points for you. And I can't get it to go through. Oh no. There we go. So that's the first game, guys. So let's go to the second game now. All right, second game is kind of like what I would consider practice. So you have like the solid wall. Now you can bring it down if you wanted to score points, but I would say that's like the practice one. All right, now we'll go ahead and check out game number 3 here, guys. All right, game number 3 is like Pong doubles, as you can see. This game actually is pretty fun. I've had a few friends come over and we played this, and got pretty tipsy playing it. This is a good drinking game right here. All right, and then game number 4, guys, lastly, is going to be just original Pong here. So as you guys can see, you have both players. And basically, original Pong. So there's Super Pong for you guys. Pretty cool. Now, the original Pong only has this game here, and it's not in color. So that's the 2 differences between the 2. We've come to the end of the video, the conclusion here, where I give my thoughts and opinions about the console that we've been talking about in the look at. So I love the Pong console, guys. As you guys can see, I got the Pong shirt. I'm a Pong fan. I grew up with this console. It is actually the same age as I am. I was born in '75, just like me. So I really did grow up with this video game console. The next console I got after this in 1979 was the Atari 2600, and then obviously more and more consoles after that. But this is the console that started it all for me. And I would just sit downstairs by myself and play this by myself, one hand on one side, one hand on the other side, and play. You know, when friends came over, I was really young. I mean, I was basically a toddler when, you know, I was playing this. So I played with myself more than I played with anybody else. Of course, my sister, my mom and dad and stuff like that. But, you know, later on, like as I got older, you had like Video Olympics and stuff on the Atari 2600. And I would play Pong on that with friends and, you know, family as well. But yeah, Pong is just a great game. This is the game that started it all, guys. Really, the whole video game console craze came from this. Atari is the one that started it, or Pong itself, as we've kind of seen through the history how Pong kind of evolved from other products as well. So, and that's the way it is. I mean, if you look through history, I mean, look at the GUI OS as we know it right now. So, Xerox PARC basically created what we know as the OS. And
then Apple kind of took it from them, and then Microsoft kind of took it from Apple, and everybody added their own little bit of spice to it. So that's how it kind of works in the tech industry as well, as this is a product of that. So, but anyway, guys, love the Pong console. And I just wanted to say, if you guys like the content here, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that little notification bell as well. That way you get notifications whenever I drop new content here. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. You all have a great one. Peace out.
Game over, man. It's game over.